first you should do a palpatory method. Palpatory as a protocol is done first, then you go for auscultatory method. Why? Palpatory does not give us the diastolic BP, but in spite of that, we do the palpatory first. Why? That can be done by auscultatory also. You'll see in a lot of cases, people directly do the auscultatory method. They raise it up to 200 and then start decreasing. That is a wrong practice. Palpatory should be done first. Because there is a phenomena called as auscultatory gap, and in whom this phenomena develops, this is unpredictable. Usually seen in hypertensives. The reason or the mechanism how it happens is not known. Why it happens is not known. And so it is unpredictable in whom this gap is there. So what this gap basically means is, you expect in auscultatory method some sounds will be there, auscultatory sounds, Korotkov sounds. But in certain patients, the phase 1 and phase 2 of the sounds are absent. So it directly starts appearing at phase 3. So if you go by the cutoff or the way of recording the systolic BP, it says that the appearance of the sound is systolic. So you might record phase 3 actually as the original systolic BP reading. So this will lead to a gross underestimation of blood pressure. Normal people might not be very significant, but in hypertensives, this is a very dangerous thing. It will be missed. So palpatory method, we are focusing or we rely on the palpation of the radial pulse. So that's why there is no question of this phenomena happening. We will not miss it. Once you get a value by palpatory method, you raise the pressure inside the cuff to how much? 20-30 millimeters above that particular reading, and then you start deflating again. And during the deflation of the cuff, some sounds appear. Those sounds are Korotkov sounds. Appearance is systolic and disappearance of the sounds is diastolic blood pressure. Now, what is the cause of these sounds? Why does it happen? If you place stethoscope on any artery of the body, say the brachial artery, radial artery, or any artery, popliteal artery, will you hear any sound? No. But what happens there? Blood pressure maneuvering, there is something which causes some sounds, right? What is that? There is turbulence, right? Because you have stopped it for some time and then you're releasing it. There is a sudden rush of blood. Turbulence, hoga ya nahi hoga, there is one number which decides. You learned in physics. What number is that? Reynolds number. Good. At least someone has remembered. Reynolds number is determined by what? It depends on speed, the diameter, all of this, right? Viscosity, correct. So here the speed becomes important, because in a given person, viscosity, aisa nahi hoga ki viscosity of the blood has suddenly changed, right? That is not going to happen. Diameter suddenly change, not going to happen. So it is the speed. As you release it, there is a sudden release of blood which causes the sounds. So turbulent flow gradually becomes laminar again. And during this process, during this course, the character of the Korotkov sounds also changes. Initially it is tapping sounds, followed by musical sounds, then loud banging sounds, and then muffled sounds. The reason of this phase, 4 phases, is turbulence is gradually giving way to laminar flow. And when it becomes completely laminar or streamlined, there is no sound, disappears. So today we are going to discuss about 2 experiments where we see the effects of 2 events. The first thing is the effect of change of posture from supine to standing. What change does it cause in blood pressure? And the second is the effect of exercise. Procedure wise, there is nothing new to add. It is about recording of blood pressure. But what to do before that, that is, you have to learn something new. So in the first experiment, you will ask the subject to lie supine for some time. And after 5 minutes of rest or relaxation, you measure the blood pressure and pulse rate both. Blood pressure both by palpatory and auscultatory method. Once it has been done, don't untie the cuff, let it be tied. And then you ask the subject to stand. stand straight and immediately record the blood pressure. So we'll document what changes have appeared immediately. So after the subject stands straight, you take a recording at 0 minutes, that is immediate reading, 1 second recording at the end of 1 minute, and the third recording at the end of 2 minutes. All these 3 readings, after the subject has stood straight, these are to be done by auscultatory method. Right? So rapid changes happen in the hemodynamics. As you stand, something happens, and as a response of that, something more happens. And all these changes are very fast. So you cannot afford to have a palpatory first and then auscultatory. You will miss everything. So after the person has stood up, you take only auscultatory readings, and you have to be very fast when you take these recordings. So 0 minute, 1 minute, and 2 minutes. Right? Now, what are the precautions that you take while you record the blood pressure? You have all done the recordings. Precautions क्या थे? Procedure में important precautions. Where do you tie the cuff? What is the name of the cuff? Rivarossi cuff. Where do you tie it? 2 fingers above. 2.5 to 3 centimeter above the cubital fossa. Why? Position of? Correct, very good. So sitting or standing way, this is the position of the heart. So the cuff should be at the level of the heart for accurate readings. There should not be any difference. And the mercury column where you're taking the recordings, that should preferably be at the eye level. So in supine position, as I said, so the subject should be supine at the beginning. So if you tie the cuff like this, 2.5 centimeter above the cubital fossa, subject lies supine. Is the cuff at the heart level? Is there a vertical difference? Heart is situated anteriorly, right, in the mediastinum. It is just beneath the skin. That is the location of the heart. And supine position, the arms would be lying like this. So there is a vertical difference of around 3 to 4 centimeters. Now the effect of gravity says that for every centimeter below the level of the heart, the readings are more by 0.77 millimeters of mercury. Readings are higher. And every centimeter above the level of the heart, readings are lesser by 0.77 millimeters of mercury. So whatever values you would get, if you don't account for this 3 to 4 centimeter, it would approximately be 4 to 5 millimeters of mercury more or higher than the actual readings because of this effect of gravity. So for taking care of this, what you can do, you can put a pillow, right? So pillow will raise the arm and bring it at the level of the heart. Or you can put something else, you can put some books. But you have to remember, whatever you use to elevate it, the arm should not be suspended. ये भी important है, that it has to be rested. So if you're using anything, you have to ensure that the whole upper limb, arm, forearm, the whole thing is rested. It should not be hanging or suspended. This is an important precaution in this particular experiment. Clear? Now, what are the findings that you expect, and how do these changes happen in the body? So as soon as you stand, there is a venous pooling, right? So why is this there? Venous pooling happens in which veins? Which veins? Large veins of the lower limb. Which are the large veins of the lower limb? Femoral is one, on saphenous. So all of these large veins, you have seen all of this in anatomy. So veins are also called as compliance vessels. Compliance vessel का मतलब ये कि they can accommodate significant volumes without much change in pressure. Hence the name compliance vessel. So this much, around 250 to 500 ml of blood may accumulate as a part of this pooling when you stand for at least around 15-20 minutes to half an hour. So this can happen. So even if you're standing for a moment, some amount of blood is always pooling in the extremities. Now, if the venous pooling happens, the venous return decreases or increases? It will decrease. If the venous return decreases, what decreases? By Frank-Starling law? What is the Frank-Starling law? Force of contraction.
of the heart is like proportional to the initial length of the muscles.
So you've mixed both. Frank-Starling law states that force of contraction of any muscle is proportional to the initial length of the muscle. That means before the muscle goes into contraction. It is true for skeletal muscle also. If you translate the law of heart to the heart, initial length means before the heart goes into systole, what is the length of the muscle fibers. So a marker or a correlate of this initial length would be what? Systole se pehle the heart is in diastole. So end diastolic volume just before the systole begins, and just after the diastole ends and systole begins. So end diastolic volume is synonymous with initial length of the muscle, and end diastolic volume will depend on venous filling during the cardiac cycle. Venous filling will depend on venous return. Force of contraction can be translated to stroke volume. So if the venous return is less by application of Frank-Starling law, the stroke volume is less. Stroke volume and heart rate, if you multiply this, the product is what? Cardiac output. Cardiac output is a determinant of systolic or diastolic blood pressure. Systolic. This is a basic concept. Systolic blood pressure means, or it is determined by the cardiac output. All factors which influence cardiac output will influence systolic blood pressure. Diastolic blood pressure is determined by total peripheral resistance. What does this mean? This हो चुका है CVS में. You have learned about the concept of resistance in physics. What is that? Whenever a fluid flows through a channel or a pipe, what happens? It undercomes some type of resistance. It comes across resistance as it flows. Now you can assume the whole circulatory system to be one such system where blood is continuously flowing. So the resistance encountered by the flowing blood is called as the total peripheral resistance, right? You can assume it to be like this in a very simplistic way. So generally, if this is the assumption, the degree of vasoconstriction or vasodilation of the blood vessels, that will decide the total peripheral resistance. If it is vasoconstricted, resistance is more, diastolic BP is more. If it is vasodilated, the diastolic BP is less. These are the determinants. So this you must not forget. Systolic cardiac output and diastolic is TPR, total peripheral resistance. Now coming back to this. So if the stroke volume is less, cardiac output will be less. So systolic blood pressure will also be less. This is what is expected. Now the fall in systolic blood pressure triggers the baroreceptor reflex. So I have used the word baroreceptor reflex, not baroreceptors. Why? If the blood pressure falls, what happens to the baroreceptors? Are they more active or less active? What are the baroreceptors? These are stretch receptors on the walls of the blood vessels. Blood pressure by definition is the lateral pressure exerted on the wall of the blood vessels. So if the blood pressure is less, receptors में stretch कम होगा या ज़्यादा होगा? कम होगा ये. So receptors will be less activated, lesser than the resting state of the body. This is the important thing, you should underlining thing. Resting state में जितना degree of stretch है and whatever is the degree of nerve signals by the 9th and 10th nerves, it is lesser than that. So this is the change what is there. And this triggers the baroreceptor reflex. So when you say blood pressure has fallen, the fall in blood pressure reduces the activity of the receptors. But this also means that the reflexes become active. Baroreflex, which is essentially a negative feedback mechanism. So if it is a fall, it will try to correct it back towards normal. If it were a rise, it would have brought it down to the normal state. Now we'll just revise the structure of the or circuits of the baroreceptor. So in the medulla you have a structure called as NTS, nucleus of tractus solitarius. You also have two nuclei here, CVLM, caudal ventrolateral medulla, and we have two nuclei here, rostral ventrolateral medulla, RVLM. Projections from NTS is always excitatory. So they excite the CVLM. But projection of CVLM is inhibitory. This is a very important catch in this whole circuit. So this is an inhibitory influence. What is the importance of all of this? Why should you know all of this? So if you take a cross section of the spinal cord now. So this is, I'm taking a section at the level of the thoracic or lumbar segments of the spinal cord. So spinal cord, all of you know, has a dorsal horn and a ventral horn. But in thoracic and lumbar segments, you have an additional horn. This is the intermediolateral horn of the spinal cord. Dorsal horn sensory hai, ventral horn is motor. That is known. What about this? This is the area from where sympathetic nerves arise, right? Sympathetic nerves and parasympathetic nerves, they don't reach the effector organs directly. So they have a ganglion in between. So this is the preganglionic neuron. It ends in the ganglion. From here, postganglionic neurons come out and then they supply different effector organs. CVS ke point of view se what you should know is the heart. You should know about the blood vessels, effect on the blood vessels, and the effect on the adrenal medulla, right? These are the three important organs for CVS point of view. Now RVLM decides the central sympathetic outflow. So RVLM excites the intermediolateral horns. And RVLM se jo output aa raha hai, this is also described as this is what you refer to as the central sympathetic outflow. You will come across these terms again and again in pharmacology in the next year, then in medicine. Central sympathetic outflow means this, right? So now we'll see what happens in the experiment. So systolic blood pressure has fallen as you stand straight. So afferent activity in the 9th and 10th nerves will be less or more? Less. So if previously 50 impulses were going per second, now at say around 10 impulses will go per second. So nerve traffic or nerve signals have reduced. So there is a less activation of NTS. Less activation of NTS means less activation of CVLM. A CVLM which is less active cannot inhibit the RVLM. So what happens? RVLM escapes from the inhibition of CVLM. So net result ये है कि sympathetic activity will increase. What happens if the sympathetic activity increases? Heart rate will increase. Force of contraction of stroke volume will increase. So cardiac output will increase. So if you measure the pulse rate, you will see there is a slight rise in the pulse rate. If you measure the systolic blood pressure, you will see that it has increased. So the fall starts getting corrected. What happens in the blood vessels? There is vasoconstriction. So there is increased TPR. So diastolic blood pressure also increases. From here what happens? Epinephrine and norepinephrine get released. They also have similar effects. So this is what happens in the body. Along with this, you don't forget about the vagus also. Vagus के nuclei भी present है यहाँ पे. DMN, dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus. So NTS से projections also go to the DMN, excitatory projections. So NTS में because activity is less, so there is less activation of the vagal nuclei, less vagal activity. Vagus का normal effect है what? It reduces the heart rate. So if less activity of the vagus means this inhibitory effect is less. So vagus जो normally कम कर रहा था heart rate को, now this effect is gone. So this will also contribute to the increase in heart rate and systolic blood pressure. Is it understood? Both the two effects happen simultaneously. So vagal effect and sympathetic effects both get modified together, bringing about the desired effect. Okay, so if you now take the recordings, I'll discuss one example, what you might get. So you make a table like this in the bottom, your copies. So how do you write? You start with the objective. Is what? To observe the effect of change of posture. To observe the effect of change of posture from supine to standing position on blood pressure. To observe the effect of change of posture from supine to standing posture on the blood pressure. Objective is followed by particulars of the subject. You write the name, age, sex of the subject when you do. Then you make a table like this. Observation. So first one is of posture. Second column, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, and third is pulse rate. So supine posture में what you should write, you get one by palpatory and one by auscultatory. Palpatory में you will not get any diastolic reading. That is done. Pulse rate you take one measurement. Then standing posture में you take 3 readings, one at 0 minute, at the end of 1 minute, and at the end of 2 minutes. Fine. So as an example, let's say 104 was your palpatory reading. Same person, the auscultatory reading was say 110 millimeters of mercury. So this difference is expected. Palpatory will always be 4 to 6 millimeters of mercury lower. So as an example, I am taking 110 by 72 millimeters of mercury, and pulse rate, let's say it is around 88 beats per minute, which is also normal. Now after standing, I said that there is gravitational pulling, and after pulling what happens? Systolic blood pressure would fall. So what do you expect? It might reduce to, let's say, 100 millimeters of mercury in the immediate reading. But there is no mechanism anywhere कि immediately diastolic or pulse rate is not affected. Gravitational pulling immediately is not going to affect the total peripheral resistance or the heart rate at that instant. So this would almost be similar. 2 to 4 could be an observer variation you might get, but it is usually the similar. Now this fall, as I said, triggers the baroreceptor reflex, so there is a correction. So correction starts as fast as within 30 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds, and the whole correction is done by around 150 to 180 seconds. So by 2 to 3 minutes it gets corrected. So in the 1 minute if you measure it, you might get it is getting almost corrected. Now this time you just saw sympathetic activity was there, blood vessels are getting affected. So you might get a slight increase in the diastolic blood pressure and also the heart rate. By 2 minutes it is almost back to your pre-existing values, supine values. Right? So this is the pattern of changes you might expect. You have to do the experiment and see for yourself. So this is just an illustration of what you might get. This will be followed by your result. You describe the whatever changes you have got in one sentence, followed by inference, whether the changes are normal or not. Next experiment is about the effect of exercise. So you take a resting blood pressure and pulse rate just like the previous one, but this time both the things will be in sitting posture, resting. After that you ask the subject to exercise for some time. You ask the subject to exercise for 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes if he or she can sustain, or till there is some amount of fatigue or exhaustion, right? After that, immediately you have to measure the blood pressure and pulse. This time 0 minute, 2 minutes and 5 minutes. So effects of exercise will be most prominent in the immediate reading, and gradually as the person rests, the effect of exercise dissipates. The pulse rate immediately after exercise is very, very important. If you do not take that, then the experiment is incomplete. Why? You have to grade the intensity of exercise that was done by the subject. How do you grade it? There are various ways of grading. Right? You can grade it on the basis of pulse rate, easy and reliable way. There is one more way you can measure the percentage of VO2 max that the person achieved during exercise. Right? VO2 max is the maximum oxygen consumption that your body can achieve. Now during that particular exercise, what percentage of that did the subject achieve? So this is percent of VO2 max. So this needs some special equipments, right? So that's why we can take the pulse rate as an easy way of grading the severity. After exercise, if you see that the pulse rate is up to 100 beats per minute, this is a mild exercise. 101 to 125 beats per minute is moderate exercise. 126 to 150 beats per minute is severe. More than 150 beats per minute is very severe. Why should I know about all of this? Blood pressure में जो changes हैं, that will vary, right? Mild, moderate and severe, the grades, according to the grade of exercise, changes expected in systolic and diastolic vary. Systolic में there is a very easy way. Proportional to the intensity of exercise, there is an increase in systolic. But diastolic में what happens? We'll see what happens as we discuss what are the points. Before we go to that, what exercise will you do? Push-ups. I knew it. Someone will tell push-up. More? Any more? What exercise would you like to do? Lifting with weights. Parth. Exercise. What would you like to do? So exercise, of course, all the things that you have mentioned, it is not wrong, right? Changes will be seen even if you do push-ups, curls, all of this. But those things are not standardized. You have to do a method which is standardized because we are recording an experiment. Changes सब में होंगी. Okay, so commonly used exercise protocols in exercise labs. One is spot jogging, spot hopping, all of this. So who will show spot hopping? Spot hopping means jumping in the same place. Correct. So examiner, what will he or she do? So subject to ye examiner is to ensure that the subject jumps at least 1 foot above the ground. So that much. Try karna, right? Okay. And the other way, spot hopping. This is spot hopping. Spot jogging, he will show. Spot jogging. So he's already taking care of his accessories. Good, but one more thing, would you like to add something? Already good, because yesterday they were not doing it very nice. Parth wants to add something, yes. One. So when you do, you have to just make sure that you place your hands like this, right? Palms facing downwards, parallel, and your thigh should be touching the palms. Thigh should be touching the palms. This should be, yes. Correct. Chalo. Right? Now, what happens is when you do the experiment, initially you are full of energy and enthusiasm. Initially it is very fast. Gradually after 30 seconds, things slow down. So then the effect is not uniform. Whatever stimulus you are giving, that is not uniform. So to keep it uniform, the best way is you use a metronome. There is a device which makes a sound depending on the frequency that you make. We don't have a metronome, so we have a desi version of metronome. What is that? Jugaad. So examiner, as an examiner, you have to make sure that at every 2 seconds you put a tapping sound, right? Make a sound at every 2 seconds, so that the exercise, jumping, hopping, whichever, uniform, right? That is important. Fine. The 2 seconds ke liye you have to have a watch. So how many of you have not got a watch? Why? What is your reason? You have seen a watch, so why have you not brought it? Next week, all of you should have a watch. Repeatedly, I'm telling you, this is the last week. Chalo. So let us discuss some factors which increase the systolic and diastolic. Systolic blood pressure is affected by around 5-6 mechanisms during exercise. Remember about cardiac output. So we're talking of the systolic first. So whenever you start exercising, what happens is sympathetic nervous system of the body becomes active. And if the sympathetic system is activated, which is activated in any form of stress, physical stress, emotional stress, biological stress, it will be active. So you will get a higher heart rate, that means the pulse rate will be more, force of contraction will be more, and cardiac output will be more. So systolic will increase, right? Remember, sympathetic activation will also cause release of catecholamines. Catecholamines release a set of hormones called as which one? Epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are the same transmitters that are released at the sympathetic nerve endings. वही दो chemicals हैं. But here I am talking of them as hormones or chemicals or neuromodulators which are released into the bloodstream. Chemical modulators released into the bloodstream, which go to the heart and any other target organ, and they act on the receptors, adrenergic receptors. So the effects are similar, but also appreciate that the effects are additive. These are adding up to the overall effect. Similar effects, but they add up. Third effect or mechanism is anticipatory tachycardia. So even the thought of exercise increases the pulse rate, increases the heart rate, right? Even if you start moving your body actively, before that also there is a slight increase. So this is mediated from the cerebral cortex. Fourth mechanism is the proprioceptive input, which causes a reflex called as a somatosympathetic reflex. What is this? So all sensations, as I said a few days back in the class on receptors, the moment you are aware of any sensation, this means that this was detected by a receptor and then it traveled through the sensory pathways, it entered the spinal cord, it ascended up through the sensory tracts and it reached the cerebral cortex, right? So proprioceptors means the receptors which detect movement in the body. Movement. So these are receptors present in the muscle joints, deep within the muscle bellies, right? All of this. So as soon as you start exercising, the movement causes increased activity in the receptors. They detect the movement. So जो nerve tracts, sensory tracts, which convey this sense of proprioception to the brain. So there are different tracts. We'll see in the coming class. So as these tracts ascend upwards, they give collateral branches to the reticular formation of the brainstem. Medulla mein, there is a very vital center, right, called as reticular formation, which is basically a cluster of different nuclei. One of the nuclei is NTS, right? It would also, all these nuclei that you see in medulla, together they form the reticular formation. So activity in all these nuclei increase. So reticular formation, which is more active, causes the increased activity of the cardiovascular centers. So heart rate, stroke volume, all of this increase. So this is called as somatosympathetic reflex. The fifth one is the thermogenic effect on SA node. Thermogenic effect on SA node. What does this mean? So in fever, there is an increase in pulse rate. So for every degree rise in the body temperature, there is an increase in the heart rate by 10 to 14 beats per minute. Temperature ka increase directly increases the automaticity of the pacemaker potential in the SA node. So this is a direct effect of temperature. Yes.
So every degree
Celsius. Temperature, as I said, increases when you exercise. Exercise, you all understand, is an exothermic process, right? This extra heat that is released from muscle contraction, they all add to the heat content of the body. The core of the body, they add up. Core of the body is where all the vital organs are there. So directly this temperature increases the automaticity of SA node, fine? Okay. Next point is, the last point here is Bainbridge effect. So Bainbridge effect is seen when the venous system on the right side of the heart has more blood volume, right? And or the venous filling has increased. So during exercise, because the circulation is more vigorous and more faster, so per minute the blood volume returning to the heart is more. So this directly increases the heart rate. So all of this will either increase the stroke volume or the heart rate, eventually increasing the systolic blood pressure. Okay. So Bainbridge effect के बाद let us come to the factors affecting diastolic blood pressure. So all these factors should be written in your manuals, because in this experiment, it is a very simple experiment, but you have to explain the findings, right? You should write all of these points. Diastolic blood pressure is affected by vasodilating forces and vasoconstricting forces, two types of forces. So when the exercise is mild, so sympathetic activity already active high, the sympathetics also increase the tone of the blood vessels. So there is vasoconstriction because of sympathetic nervous system activity, and as a result of which TPR is more and diastolic blood pressure is more. So what do we see? Mild exercise mein there is a increase in diastolic, right? Now as the severity of exercise increases, more carbon dioxide is produced in the tissues. So carbon dioxide is a vasodilator. Carbon dioxide के साथ suppose the supply and demand is not met, the metabolism in the tissues will switch to anaerobic. So lactic acid will be produced. So lactic acid is a vasodilator. Lactic acid के साथ the lactate, anion and H plus ion. So each of this is a vasodilator, right? So this causes, so now it tries to balance. This force is always there. Sympathetic activity वो तो है ही. But now this is, as the severity increases, these extra forces come into the picture and they try to balance what was happening, vasoconstricting and vasodilating. Additionally, temperature, I just talked about temperature. So too much of heat within the body will activate its heat loss mechanisms. If there is too much of heat build up, heat loss can happen, heat transfer for that matter can happen either by four processes: conduction, convection, radiation and evaporation. So the body dilates the blood vessels. As the blood vessels dilate, heat from the core of the body travels through the blood in the form of convection currents and reaches the peripheries, extremities of the body, from where they are dissipated as radiation waves. Now, as the blood vessels dilate, so there is a fall in the total peripheral resistance. So this is the thermogenic vasodilation. So now you have two factors already which is causing vasodilation. So all these things will increase gradually as the intensity of exercise increases. What is the third factor? The third factor is epinephrine. Catecholamines will increase more as intensity of exercise increases, but there is a difference. Same two chemicals, sympathetic nerve से भी वही निकल रहा है, and from adrenal medulla also the same two chemicals are released, but the relative concentration is variable. In sympathetic terminals, norepinephrine is more than epinephrine, but when you talk of the same two chemicals as hormones from adrenal medulla, epinephrine is many times more. Receptor affinity दोनों के अलग है. Norepinephrine has got greater affinity towards alpha receptors and epinephrine towards beta. So beta 2 receptors are present on blood vessels. So epinephrine, when it acts on beta 2, it causes smooth muscle relaxation. So blood vessels will dilate. So total peripheral resistance will fall and diastolic will fall. So what do we see? As the severity increases, there are more vasodilating forces. So they take the upper hand. So mild exercise में both systolic and diastolic increase, mild increase in both. Moderate में there is a moderate increase in systolic. Diastolic में this force is almost balanced. So there is no change actually. No considerable change. 2 to 4 millimeter change can be there, but no great change is there. But as severity of exercise increases, systolic will again show a severe increase, diastolic will show a fall in blood pressure. So if you are asked, if you summarize the whole thing in one, taking one particular index, so this is the severity of exercise. Let's say this is the systolic. जितना ज़्यादा severe है, systolic has increased that much. Diastolic में mild excess में there is a mild increase followed by balance, and as severity increases, diastolic falls. So what has increased? Severity के साथ, if you summarize this, as the severity increases, what has increased? As the severity has increased, what has increased like this? The difference. So what is the difference called as? Systolic minus diastolic is what? Pulse pressure. तालियां बजाओ इनके लिए. She is the only one who answered. Clap, all of you. Good. You remember? तो ऐसे ही right जगह पे आप right answers देने. Observation table क्या होगा? So this part will remain the same. Objective, particulars of the subject. Objective is to observe the effect of exercise. Observation table will look something like this. First, resting values or pre-exercise values. Then post-exercise. 0 minutes, 2 minutes and 5 minutes. Resting may you will have two, palpatory and auscultatory. Diastolic will not be then palpatory. Pulse rate, whatever you get. This value that you get in 0 minute, this is very important as I said. This will decide the grade of exercise that the subject had achieved. Right? You mentioned the grade of exercise achieved. So suppose pulse rate after exercise is 128 beats per minute. What is the grade? 0 minute में just after exercise it is 128 beats per minute. So what is the grade? Moderate. Severe. Good. Right? This is the experiment. Result लिखो, inference लिखो, whether the changes are expected for the grade of exercise or not. I have already told you what are the expected changes in both systolic and diastolic along in the corresponding grades of exercise. So if it is tallying or not, you have to mention as an inference. Right? So this completes the experiment. So now you will go to the lab and start doing the exercise.